What's up, what's up, what's up, everybody? This is Jiho. We're just going to let people trickle in. We still have 2 minutes to go time. Thanks for joining just a little bit early. I got Andrew up on stage. My Twitter Spaces has been updated. What's up, Spike? I see you in the audience. What's up, D-Raj? What's up, Cairo? What's up, Odin? Rancorp, nice question last time. Kati Cox, the legend. DW, what's up, what's up? We got Axie King Aruchan, welcome. Tendo, what's up, Tendo?
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Zyori in the house. How we doing? I'm a co-host this time. I got upgraded.
Yeah, moving up in the world.
That's what I'm talking about, brother. Not just a lowly speaker today. I hope you guys are ready. This is going to be a hype Twitter space. Our first one was amazing. It was so much fun. We decided to do it again. We've actually got Origin stuff to talk about today, dude.
Why Philip Law cannot be invited? Okay, we need to tell Philip to join the space.
You might be on a computer. You have to be on a phone to be able to speak in a Twitter space. I learned that one the hard way, live in a Twitter space. Very embarrassing.
We should have told him this in advance. Okay. Can you ping Philip?
Yeah, I'll shoot him a message.
We have 676 people. Everybody, I strongly recommend that you share this space. The more the merrier. Let's get all your friends in. Let's make sure that the entire world has a chance to listen to some of the questions that we're going to be going through. So we will be using this space to answer some of the questions that we saw in the days since that really awesome Origin teaser that we dropped.
All right, looks like Phil is in, and we might be able to bring him up as a co-host.
Yes, I see his request. I'm going to make him a co-host because I heard that the audio quality is better for that. So, Philip, I have sent you a request. All right, you are now a co-host.
Yo, what's up? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear.
Cool.
Awesome.
How's it going, Philip?
Good. You? Good to finally, I guess, talk to everyone.
Yeah, man, we're super excited. We're stoked to have you on the team. We're really excited about all the work you've been putting in, and I think the community is excited to get to know you a little better. And, well, I'm not going to lie, buddy. Origin might steal the show from you just a little bit. I think they might be more excited to hear about some of this Origin stuff.
Yeah, no, that's ideal for me. I'm much less important relative to Origin, so let's let Origin take the stage.
I love it. Humble to boot. So I guess we can go ahead and get started. I have a plane flying overhead, so I'm going to take a moment. Okay, and we're back. Sorry about that. That might happen a few more times here. So I'm doing this one from the outside. Quick agenda today. Basically, we're going to have a conversation with Phil. I think we're going to keep it pretty tight with myself, Jeff, and Philip for the first half or so of this conversation. And then I think we'll bring people up to ask questions. We do have a long list of questions that we've sourced from social media and various other locations. So we're hoping that this will maybe answer some of the questions that you have already. What do you guys say? Are we ready to get started? Phil, you ready? You got your water?
Yeah, let's do this.
All right. So one of the first questions, people wanted to hear about how crafting charms and runes will work. Are scholars going to be able to craft them? Will they use SLP from their wallet? How will the dynamic of charms and runes work when it comes to scholar shared accounts?
Yeah, so I guess first disclaimer for all of this is just, things are still subject to change, but I'll give my answers based on the best of my knowledge, which I'm still ramping up on. So in terms of charms and runes crafting, it'll likely be done within the game client, so within Origin. Scholars will be able to craft within the account, but they'll only be able to use the SLP that is in the account. So they wouldn't be able to use SLP that's already been claimed onto the wallet. And the plan is ultimately to have ways for people to put SLP from their wallet into the account if they want scholars to be able to craft. And so, yeah, as scholars earn SLP within the game, they'll be able to use that SLP themselves to craft blockchain charms and runes. And then for non-blockchain charms and runes, they'll just be able to craft with the moon shards.
I see. And to be clear, the moon shards, they're an in-game currency, correct? So that means they won't be on blockchain?
Yeah, so the moon shards are all in game, not tokenized, not on blockchain, and they will reset every season. So it actually you got to start earning them again every season.
Gotcha. Could you maybe talk about anything around the decision to make the moon shards not a token? Are there any specific advantages to having it just be an in-game currency rather than like an actual tokenized thing on the blockchain?
Yeah, so token economies, as you can imagine, are pretty complicated to manage, and there's a lot of moving pieces with managing them. So, especially with kind of this new resource and making sure that we can provide a way for players to participate in the free-to-play side without necessarily getting all the tokens and blockchain axies and all that to start was kind of a big component to having this token not on blockchain, so it's easier to balance initially, but also so free-to-play players can use them to craft runes and charms without needing SLP as well. And making sure there was kind of that free-to-play component was important for us as we try to get the game out to more people.
Gotcha. Yeah, very excited about the free-to-play aspect of Origin and allowing people to try it before they buy it. I think that's a huge part of our product offering that needs to come online. Let's keep moving right along, though. I had a question about stats. If stats are removed, then what's the difference between Axie classes aside from just their colors?
Yeah, so stats going away was part of kind of a bigger change in the game where classes are now very important for charms and runes, and which runes and which charms different classes can use will be the biggest difference across classes, and that's where a lot of the variability will come in different metas.
Wow, very cool. What a big difference to the Axie space, but excited to see that evolve. There are a lot of people out there that own a lot of Axies, and they're really afraid about losing value with meta changes in Origin. And I've even gotten questions from people in DMs asking if they'll be able to use their current Axies in V2 in Origin V3. And of course, the answer to that one is yes. Your Axies are your Axies. You'll be able to use your Axies in any application that Axies can be used in. But what about people that are afraid of like, hey, I have this great meta team right now. Is it going to be a meta team in Origin? And what do I do?
Yeah, so definitely this is part of our evolving game. So yeah, number one, Axies, you will be able to use all of your current Axies in Origin, but the metas will change, right? And so I think if you look back at one of the blog posts actually we put out a bit earlier, late last year around just long-term thinking, there's kind of a big section around there that I definitely recommend people go over, but basically the meta will change over time. Axie value will go, some of them will go up, some of them will go down as the meta changes. And as a game, that's something we have to do. There's really no getting around it. We can't just leave a game, with the same meta and keep it stale, forever. And part of that is, we're going to come out with other games and there'll be new experiences as well that will make different Axies have different value. And then ultimately, once we expand releasing out more, there will be utility for, Axies that aren't, particularly meta relevant in a certain moment as well. You can release it and get value to, upgrade other Axies or, get items or accessories or cosmetics. So yeah, short answer is that it's a completely new meta. So yeah, there definitely will be some Axies that become more or less useful in that. But even over the next upcoming seasons, that will still continue to change. We're going to roll out different charms and runes over the seasons that are going to change which Axies are more interesting to use. And so it's going to be a constant, evolution.
To quote the great Psych Out, there's no such thing as a useless Axie. And I think we'll see that continue to be a true maxim as we roll out new features. And I think it's also important to highlight that it's not just change for the sake of change. It's change to expand the game, to make it better, right? Axie being an alpha means there's still a lot of stuff that we need to roll out and we need to add to the ecosystem. And adding ears and eyes parts into the game means 50% more cards. That's 50% more parts. So even if all the cards were exactly the same, it would be impossible to balance the meta exactly the way it is now. And some of that is being an early adopter in the current Axie ecosystem, right?
Yeah, totally. Very well put.
All right. So, specific question here. Will plant and dusk axies be OP since HP is basically the only relevant stat that's left? And they're the ones that are known for having high HP, your kind of tanky boys.
Yeah, so that's something we probably should have included in the blog post, is that all axies will have the same base HP. So that's actually not going to be the case. Like, plant and dusk aren't going to be OP with some crazy HP stat that's higher than all the other axies. They'll all be the same across all axies. And so kind of still back to the point of charms and runes will be the differentiating factors.
Okay, I love it. Great answer there. How about Origin in iOS, the App Store? A lot of iPhone users, iPad users out there really excited to play Axie on their mobile devices that unfortunately didn't make it into the test flight. Any hope for those folks to be able to play on their iPhones?
Yeah, I mean, all I can say is we are trying our best, people across our team, to have it available on iOS as soon as we can. As you can imagine, there are very stringent requirements, and being in, the blockchain space, that adds many, many layers of complexity in terms of how we can get approved, and different assets we might have to make available, and how they're made available to different free-to-play players. So yeah, we will try. No effort will be spared to try to do that. We obviously wanted to be open on, App Store, Google Play Store, all of them. But it might take some time, and there's definitely barriers we'll need to get through first.
Absolutely. I've got another plane flying overhead here, so bear with me. Yeah, I appreciate your candor there. There takes a lot of moving parts to be able to work with all these other app stores, and we're absolutely doing everything we can. As an iPhone user myself, yes, I would love to play Axie on my iPhone. Let's talk about starter Axies, because we've talked about free to play a little bit. There are a lot of people worried that the starter Axies will either be too good compared to blockchain Axies, or that the starter Axies will be able to earn SLP. Can you talk to us about the tokenomics around the free-to-play non-NFT starter Axies specifically?
Yeah, so starter Axies are not on chain. They are Axies that anyone can start playing, start using in PvE, PvP, and yeah, they will not allow you to earn any SLP when you use them, and so they are purely, to help people learn the game and play and have fun and just get into the loop, right? Like ultimately, that's the big focus we have. Origin is just making sure it's a lot more fun, and more people can play and get into the ecosystem. In terms of, I think there were some specific questions around starter Axies, having them on a team with blockchain Axies. How will that work? That's something we're still hashing out. I think ideally we want to have, the rewards scale to, if you have one blockchain Axie and two starter Axies, then maybe you should get, 1/3 of the potential rewards. We haven't finalized anything there, but that is some of the thinking around, starter Axies and their ability to earn and just, enjoy the game.
Gotcha. Okay, so people will be able to mix and match a little bit, where you can play with a blockchain Axie, you could play with a starter Axie. Man, that opens up a whole lot of potential. How many starter Axies are there? Is it just one team that people can use, or is there a variability between the starter Axies?
Yeah, there's a bunch. I actually don't know the exact number off the top of my head, but I think there's at least like 7 or 8 of them to start. Like there'll be more over time, but you do have to earn them by playing PvE, and some of them are. Uh, some of them we haven't even revealed yet, and they look super cool. So super excited for people to to get to those points in PvE adventure and kind of earn these starter axies that they can use that are really cool looking.
Awesome. I mean, is it fair to kind of express the starter axies almost as like a tutorial for new players, or would you not frame it that way?
So they're definitely for the tutorial, as most new players will be using starter axies. But yeah, they still have have use in PvP and all these other areas. It doesn't mean they're will just completely get dominated by blockchain axies. But yeah, the big difference at that point will be like that you can't earn using them. So there's kind of a very clear difference there.
Gotcha. That makes a lot of sense to me. So V2 axes, we talked about this. They'll be able to be used in V3. Scrolling through here. Oh yeah, this was another one. I'm actually curious about this. What's the deal with that lightsaber wielding hermit crab? Is that like a new Axie companion that you can leak for us? Is this guy a Jedi master or a Sith Lord? Like, what do we got going on here?
Yeah, the hermit crab is definitely been one of the popular I think assets in that graphic. Certain cards within the new Origin gameplay will allow Axies to summon minions, and that is one of the many minions that you'll be able to summon, and they will provide a lot of different kind of effects and impacts, and create some cool metas, but also just create a really cool, I think, scenario in the game where you have a crab, sitting next to your Axie. And hanging out with its two lightsabers. So yeah, super excited for people to see those in game.
I can definitely say the artwork is badass around the lightsaber wielding crab. But you mentioned like minions. I mean, that's a totally different take on Axie. I'm used to just seeing three potatoes versus three potatoes, but now you're telling me that these potatoes are going to get to bring some friends to the battlefield. Like there could be a zoo strat here coming up, huh?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's completely new. When I first saw it, I was blown away too. So yeah, excited for everyone to get to experience it.
That is the number one meme that we've seen emerge from the teaser. So awesome. Yeah, I can't wait for Minions, man.
Yeah, that's really exciting. Just seeing more creatures in the Axie universe. Like I feel like I'm seeing this Venn diagram with like the Axie lore. As Jiho tweeted the other day, we need a bard. We need somebody to help us come up with the Axie universe lore and expand out the whole world. And these other creatures are a really exciting part of that. So I know this is focused on like Origin Arena stuff, but I'm also just excited about the lore this introduces. Phil, I want to know more about this crab's backstory.
Yeah, and the lore is actually there's brand new lore coming, so I'm super excited to reveal that once as the game comes out too. So there'll be dialogue. Bubba will be saying a lot of things, and you'll learn a lot more about all of them. So yeah, excited for people to just immerse themselves further in the Lunacia story.
Absolutely. I'm very excited for that as well. I want to go back to Axie classes real quick. We talked about the stats being removed, and now runes are going to be some of the more class-specific things. It feels like in the current version, V2, there are some classes that are just underwhelming by the way their base stats are set up. I think Dawns are the quintessential example of that. You can definitely see it in the breeding numbers as well. We've got how many millions of Aquas and like not even 20,000 Dawns. Can you talk about that at all? Like how these rune changes might be better for like more versatility in the Axies and giving these classes that have been historically kind of underloved more of a chance to shine?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely gives us a lot more room to, tweak things and create different value for classes that maybe haven't had as much love in the past. But yeah, there'll be in terms of runes, there'll be neutral ones that any axes can use, but there'll also be ones that can get equipped to to certain axes of certain classes, and so you'll definitely see some unique kind of utility come from the different classes based on those kind of class specific runes. So that'll be a big part that can help each class have their own kind of way to shine.
Gotcha. I want to talk about the differences in Origin in terms of the actual gameplay, the way the turn order works now. as well as this new dynamic of unused cards. I think there was some curiosity about like, will those cards be destroyed? Do they just get cycled back in your deck to be drawn later? What can you share with us around those sort of mechanics of Origin compared to V2?
Yeah, I think as mentioned in the post, it's all sequential turns. So basically, you have the first player who will get their cards. They can play the cards as they play the cards. The action happens, and then once they end their turn, then it's the other player's turn. They can play their cards. So it just keeps happening where it's a bit different from V2, where obviously people all choose their cards together and it all kind of plays out together. So with that, each turn, some of the big differences, your energy and cards are all kind of recycled basically every turn, or removed. And so if you don't use up your energy for the turn, it's gone. You can't accumulate by default. So that'll definitely drive people to just do actions and actually play, and not go skip turns, which obviously is one of the tactics within the current V2 game. So that's one thing. And then, cards, any unused cards will also be by default kind of discarded and eventually cycled back into the deck. Some of them can get banished, which is kind of a new mechanic where they will actually be removed from play. But there's all these mechanics just introduce a ton of different new strategies and tactics that people will have to learn and figure out what works the best.
Wow, a lot to unpack there. But I think one of the biggest changes that's going to take a while to get used to is that sequential turn order that you just described. Right now, round one, you both lock in your decisions, and then the axies go back and forth based on speed. But in this new version, like, it's my turn, I do my actions, then it's your turn, you do your actions. And to me, it seems like that pace of gameplay should be an improvement. It feels a little more impactful. Like, no more you play your cards, you press end turn, and then you sit there, staring at the screen for your opponent to play their cards and end turn. Now, if you play quickly, like, you get that instant gratification of seeing your axies do actions you played, right?
Yeah, totally. I enjoyed it a lot more. I hope everyone else does too.
Awesome. Very much looking forward to that. Another concern that people have brought up is Origin going to be pay to win, especially with the runes? How are we going to calibrate things and put controls in the system to make sure that it's not just a whales game where the richest player always wins?
Yeah. So ultimately, there will be advantages to having certain blockchain, charms and runes, and even blockchain axes, like it is now. But we want to continue to balance the gameplay so that players who are very skilled and put in the effort can still, reasonably compete. And we've seen that in the past with V2, where people will, pick up some cheaper axes and be able to still compete. And so we want to maintain that spirit. But yeah, definitely, certain charms and runes that people can get will give them a little edge, for sure. And I think it'll take some time to find the right balance, and that's why also that we're releasing, this alpha first. That we aren't just going to completely shut down V2 and turn on Origin and just jump over. We want to do that balancing, see how things net out, and make sure when we do kind of fully launch it that we've accounted for feedback and balanced a bunch of those things out.
Absolutely. And I think it's maybe worth reiterating that the general strategy with Axie and balancing is to not have, one particular group of Axies be totally broken and too strong in the definitive meta, but really have this meta of counters where it's like this revolving door of A is greater than B, B is greater than C, C is greater than A kind of thing. And it's more about matchups and strategy. And when it comes to tournaments, being able to see like, okay, this person brought these 10 Axies to the tournament, so I have a general idea of the kind of strategies they might want to try, and then that gives you an opportunity to try to play counters. But it's very much about this revolving door style of balance, right? Like rock, paper, scissors. None of the three are completely broken, but they all have different opportunities where they can win.
Yeah, totally.
Perfect. So now that we know it's going to be this sequential back and forth, how does it determine who goes first? And if I go first, isn't that a really big advantage? Like I've always heard in V2, speed is basically the most broken statistic because going first lets you do damage first, and if you kill an Axie that's played cards, that's a huge swing in the game, right? So how do we calibrate for the first mover advantage in Origin?
Yeah, so the play order will be randomly determined before battle starts, and then the player who goes second will actually receive a +1 energy card, meaning they actually get they can use that card and get an extra energy, and so that'll be the current balancing of first player gets to go first, second player gets an extra energy, and so that's the current way to manage the first player advantage.
Is that sufficient? Are there any other levers there if it turns out that like first mover advantage is too strong? Like I guess you could make it a 2 energy coin or something. But any thoughts about that? I guess maybe we just need to collect data on this and see how it goes in the first phase.
Yeah, totally. I think like obviously nothing is locked in stone here. I think definitely the feedback from the community and through the kind of test phase, seeing what works. Yeah, it could definitely change and open to ideas from others as well. But that's kind of our starting point basically.
That the energy card is really interesting. I believe it's actually an example of a retain card, right? So we mentioned that after each turn, you'll lose your energy in all of your cards, except some cards can actually be held because it has that special retain mechanic. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really cool. So we have all these new mechanics now, and one of them actually keeps cards in your hand, so you don't have to worry about like is retain unique to this energy coin booster, or are there other cards that also have retain that you can mix into your deck?
There's definitely a bunch of cards that have retained. So figuring out when what kind of cards you want to retain and keep in your hand and which ones you want to use right away will definitely be part of that.
Gotcha. I had a question about the random critical strikes, and this is one that I think I wanted to bring up because I know people are just excited about it. This rage and fury system seems to make sense to me, where it builds up over time. If there's anything that you can share around that, I'm sure people would be excited to hear about it. I think random crits are the number one complaint I get outside of Gravelant in my DMs, and as the esports guy, I'm really excited to see random crits getting turned into something a little bit more strategic. Yeah, any notes you can share on that I think would be fantastic.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty straightforward. Yeah, I think the rage mechanic is certain cards will help increase the Axie's rage, and as they get very very mad at some point, they will be able to release that rage and give a basically a critical hit. Just based on the strategy itself, without any chance. And so timing, when you use the cards that add rage for you, timing when to actually hit that rage breakpoint to use it, and then how much energy you have left to attack once you have the rage, as the rage only lasts, I believe, 1 turn. So timing all that and strategizing all that will be part of the strategy for a lot of people who use the rage mechanic.
And this question, as a follow-up, might be a bit hyper-specific, so feel free to pass on this one. But how do you think this affects beasts? Like beasts have always been this class that's all about crits, really high morale. Does this just feel like a change, and beasts are still going to be fine? I've certainly heard some people say, like, well, now that random crits are gone, like, I'm about to sell my nutcrackers.
Yeah, I mean, I think I believe rage is actually one of the big focus areas for beasts, and so it's kind of makes sense given it's kind of a new type of crit, and so yeah, I think definitely some beast cards, as if I remember properly. So yeah, don't quote me on this specific part, but I believe there will be a focus on certain axies to have that rage type of ability in their cards more often than others.
I'm looking at the beast cards that we showed in the teaser, and we saw Sheba, which actually gives rage to your team when you play it. There's Confident, which you can basically target any teammate and give them 2 rage. And then there was Imp, which costs 0 energy when you're in Fury form, right? So Fury form is what's actually unlocked when you hit I guess, a certain amount of rage. So it seems like the beast cards are very rage focused, or at least some of them are.
Yeah.
I like it. So that sounds like that there's an effort to maintain some of these Axie identities. I guess we could kind of call them strengths and weaknesses, but they do all have a specific, identity. Historically, plants have been the tanks, birds have been these glass cannon, big damage dealing, but, kind of weak once they're exposed kind of a thing. Can you confirm that, Philip? Like, does it seem like we're trying to maintain that identity?
Yeah, definitely. There's definitely parallels to a lot of kind of the existing, types of identities that classes have in V2, and kind of the spirit of a lot of those will be passed on to V3 Origin.
That's fantastic. So what about the body parts that match classes of axies? Like, is there going to be any benefit for pure axies? Will it just be combo of skills? Anything you can share there?
Yeah, so definitely body parts. They have benefits if you have a plant axie with plant body parts now, and there will still be benefits for that in Origin. I would say not to get too into nitty gritty on this specific part, but basically, if you have axies with more purity, higher purity, more matching parts, they'll be able to equip higher quality charms, and be able to use a wider variety of them.
Oh, okay. I see. So there's going to be decision making and trade offs for maybe you sacrifice purity on your Axie to get a specific skill set, but then that limits the kind of runes that you could use. And if you were to use a 6 out of 6 pure, maybe that slightly limits your options there, but it unlocks a different rune set or like a higher tier or something that you wouldn't have access to otherwise. Am I understanding that right?
Yeah, exactly. So there'll be trade offs, between what moves you want, but also what charms it'll allow you to use, and figuring out those different combinations.
Wow. I like that a lot. That's really exciting. I've heard a lot of, I tweeted the other day, like I'm buying some of these floors that are these floor axies that are looking pretty pure. And people were speculating that pure axies were going to be really good. And I just think that they don't really go out of fashion. But
Yeah.
wow, that's amazing. And I got a lot of feedback from people saying, I hope it's not just pures, because breeding pures all day is not very much fun at all. There's no real strategy in that. And breeding some of these fun combos is what a lot of people do really enjoy when it comes to breeding axies.
Yeah, totally.
All right. Well, so remember, folks, we're at the halfway point. We are going to open up the floor to some questions before too long here. So if you have any burning thoughts, would love to hear from some of our community members, and seize the opportunity here to ask Philip a couple of questions. I had another one specifically about Cuckoo and Buzz, shown as back and ear cards, respectively. Have some cards been moved to different body parts? Is that what we're to deduce there?
No, so it looks like incorrect screenshots were used. They're still horn and back cards, same as where we have them in the current game. So no part swapping to different positions as of now.
Okay, very nice, very nice. And what about special axies like Christmas, Japanese, Origin, Mio, Mystic? Any of those categories relevant for Origin? Will my Mystic look special? Will it do anything special, or will it basically just be another axie with a slightly different cosmetic?
Yeah, basically the same as with V2 right now. Axie with different cosmetic, but I personally would love to get more unique things in for some of our special parts at some point in the future.
Yeah, definitely. That's a highly requested feature, though I totally understand why. I would love more ways to show off my amazing collectible axies that I'm so proud of. But alas, a conversation for another time. Philip, that is most of the questions that I had written down, at least. Was there anything big that we missed that you also wanted to cover before we start opening up for some questions here?
No, nothing in particular. I think, obviously, the timing, I think, is something people have still asked about. We are aiming for the end of Q1, but there's a lot of moving pieces, as you can imagine. We want to get it out probably just as fast as you want us to get it out. So we are pushing towards it.
And what about revealing all of the cards. Is there going to be any kind of a plan to, like, are we going to reveal the cards before Origin comes out so people have time to study? Is that just going to be one big launch? Is there going to be any kind of strategy or education content that gets made alongside that stuff?
Yeah, we don't have particular plans for that right now, but I think that's definitely something we have talked a bit about. We do want to try to get some content out there as we launch, and so we might be working with, some partners to get things going on certain types of content. And but yeah, those things are still all in the works.
Very cool. And this has been so great. Even I've learned some things here, Philip. Really appreciate you coming on and sharing all this with us.
Yeah.
Spike, would love to hear from you, buddy. Appreciate your effort in the community so much, and definitely excited to hear your thoughts here about Origin.
Oh man, guys, you're giving me goosebumps. I've been getting DMs from people saying they can't sleep thinking about Origins. But I appreciate y'all hosting the space, give me a chance to ask a question. It's going to lean along the sides of breeding. So my question is, what will be the team strategy if like an overpowered combination of parts or charms kind of comes into play? I know there was a lot of heat in the previous seasons where there was a combination. I think Bone Sail was one of them, and like they had to nerf it mid-season. Is there any thoughts on the fact that we're going to have 50% more cards, we're going to have charms? Like I imagine there's going to be some broken mechanics and some mischief happening in the arena. So I'm curious to any strategies or processes that moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, so we've already kind of started the process even in V2 around the buffer periods and allowing the community to test out meta changes before the full season. And so we'll definitely continue and try to do more of that even to make sure that we can catch things. And yeah, as you mentioned, it's increasingly complex given all the different ways that different combinations and metas can be created now. Yeah, we will definitely just need a lot of feedback with the community as we make these changes. And yeah, the big thing we do want to avoid though is mid-season changes. We as I think everyone was not a fan of that. We are also, generally not a fan of that either. Sometimes it might need to be done, for the balance of the game, but we definitely want to spend a lot of time, testing, making sure we figure out all those kind of edge cases or broken combos before seasons in buffer periods and test periods.
Yeah, I think the bumpy bone sale thing led to a very important and specific conversation internally about how we do that stuff and how that process needs to change. And I think in the future, even if we do determine that something needs to be changed, like, oh my gosh, there's a combo that we all missed that somebody figured out, this is game breaking, it's something that we're going to be much more transparent and communicative about, engage with the community, and maybe even like engage in some basic polls to see how people feel. Should we patch this? Should we let it go to the end of the season? And kind of take it from there. Obviously, it's always case by case, but I think we learned a lot from the bumpy bone sale situation, and we'll definitely not repeat that in the future.
Amazing. Awesome, guys. Appreciate the opportunity. And Philip, welcome to the Axie community. We love and appreciate you, joined our humble community, and we look forward to many great things from you. Thank you.
Yeah, no, appreciate all the love from everyone.
Thanks a lot, Spike. Great question. Let's jump over to Adrian Rodriguez. Adrian, what's going on, brother? Adrian? Oh, maybe we'll give him a moment to collect his thoughts. Bryce?
Adrian.
Yeah, I have no problem jumping in. What's going on, Andrew, Philip? A pleasure. My question is more so just centered around your overall thoughts of where things are going with the game and this new format that's coming out. So very simple. I'd love, Andrew and Philip, if you both could answer, what is the most exciting part about V3 that you've been working on from your perspective?
You want to go first, Andrew, or should I?
Sure, I can take it first. My answer is
Yeah.
pretty easy. I'm kind of the esports guy, and Origin is huge for esports, right? No more random crits. A game client that's going to be a lot more robust. We're going to start working on features like tournament lobbies. I think in the long term, having like a tournament system in the game client is totally possible and something that I've been pushing for. A lot of our esports plans are super early right now. Like if Axie's in alpha, our esports is pre-alpha. And I think Origin gets us a step closer to being able to launch like real Axie esports type stuff. I think we're all dreaming of this world where we can get towards Axie Pro League and have this full professional circuit. We're not there yet. It's definitely not coming in 2022, but Origin is like the big catalyst that allows us to start taking some of those steps and give us that foundation. So yeah, I think it's just an improvement. I personally think we took the game that we have now, we made it better. We removed some things that weren't so good. We added some new things that we think are going to be really good, and I think that's a formula for a really, really competitive, exciting game. So yeah, just esports, baby. I'm stoked.
Yeah. Yeah, I think on my side, it's so hard to, choose one or even two things. But definitely a big part is free to play, giving accessibility. I remember the first time I wanted to try Axie Infinity, and I went on the marketplace, and I was like, oh, this is an investment. But now, letting people just jump in and play and see their Axies, and use all the different cards and learn the meta without that huge barrier, to me is game changing. For us to just tell our friends to try it out, like you don't need to spend anything. That was like a big thing for me. Like I was telling all my friends about it, but then without really diving into the blockchain side of things, it was really hard for them, since that's obviously a barrier in a lot of blockchain space products. And then I think the other part is just charms and runes. I think it's a completely different type of gameplay that didn't exist in Origin before. In Battles V2. And it'll just create this new kind of season by season change in, what people are doing, and not just purely battling, but also crafting these and upgrading them, and getting better ones over the season to compete. And so that's probably one of the biggest mechanics that I'm really excited about.
Awesome. And just a quick follow up on the whole just speed change of how Axie is going to play. Do you think that with this major speed change and new players coming into the game, is there a world where we could see, like, for example, I'm starting off as a new player with the new starter Axies, and I'm getting to go through like a Gmail type tutorial where my first match is, against, the environment or, some bots, but it's taking me step by step through the process for a new player to just jump in and kind of immerse themselves without being overwhelmed by all of the things that they're going to see on the screen when a new match starts up?
Yeah, I mean, for new players, the way the tutorial works is they actually, won't even have access to a lot of the new things to start, and they'll have to go through PVE a little bit, which will have those, more detailed, click here, click there, this is how this works tutorials, and so that will make it a lot easier for people to just learn the game to start, and then charms will unlock, runes will unlock, PvP will unlock. So it's progressive, and we won't just kind of throw players straight into PvP, like some players might end up doing in B2.
That's
Appreciate
amazing.
that.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Bryce. Appreciate the good question. Let's keep moving right along. We'll try to pitch it back to Adrian. Paging Adrian Rodriguez. Are you here, buddy? We'd love to hear from you. No, okay. I guess not. Well, we'll keep trying. Let's send it over to Santiago. Santiago, are you with us? I saw you disconnected earlier. Hopefully you're with us as well.
Hey, what's up, fam? Andrew, thank you for bringing me up. Or Abuelita,
Hey.
we call you Abuelita in the Latin community. Thank you, G-Host, everyone, for doing this space. Philip, welcome to Axie Infinity. And my question is, as what I'm hearing right now, all this crafting and everything reminds me of. Sorry, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, you sound great.
My mom called me, my bad. So, the crafting and everything reminds me of a game called World of Warcraft, where you have different classes and you can, like, there's this shaman where it can be elemental or enhancement, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's more powerful. It's whatever you like. So I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's very similar to that. And my other question is about the builders program. Like, I've been seeing all these game developers doing crazy stuff, and I'm just wondering if we're gonna be able to play these games in 2022. And thank you guys for bringing me up. And Bryson, I started playing Axie because of you, so thank you for that.
Much love, brother, for sure.
Much love, man.
Thanks for the questions. Yeah, so I think on the first part, if I understand it correctly, I believe so. With charms and runes, I don't. They're not necessarily upgrades like part upgrades, which is something I've brought up before and is different from charms and runes. But yeah, like all of them will have different effects. They aren't just like plus 10 attack across the board, or for all the different charms and runes. There's a lot of different effects. Some of them will help you create new kind of combos. Some of them might be more just pure buffs. And so yeah, it'll definitely just create a lot of different new unique combinations and strategies. And then on the builders program, yeah, I mean, I'd love to see some of them come out with experiences this year. Really, I think some of the smaller projects, like the hyper casual type, will be more likely if they're bigger than less so. But yeah, definitely on our side right now, we are figuring out what the best way is to structure this. Obviously, a big part is we want to be supportive and enable the community to build on top of Axie and the platform, but we also want to make sure that these projects will add value to the ecosystem as a whole, and people aren't building these projects and then taking extracting value out of our ecosystem, or using the Axie IP in ways that might be negative, or even doing things that would be bad for the community directly. Shipping projects, or selling things and then not putting out promises that they put out there. So there's a lot of things we need to think about in terms of protecting the Axie ecosystem and community. So that's kind of what I'm working with the team on right now, and it's going to probably take a bit more time to figure out all those nuances and balance friction versus protection.
I'd also like to highlight. Actually, never mind. Just lost my train of thought. My mistake. Very good, though. Thank you for that question, Santiago. Really great stuff. It just came back to me. Timing is really hard to estimate with this stuff because building takes time. And a lot of these builders, like, I love the ambitious nature of some of these projects. I've heard past developers say, like, it's really easy to make a cinematic. It's way harder to make a game. So sometimes screenshots or like little clips can be a little bit misleading, where it seems like, wow, that game must be really close to being done. And really that's like one or two characters that are in a sandbox. And yes, those characters are really cool, but they're still really far away from the game itself being completed. So I think just keep that in mind, that like the white paper is one thing, but then building the white paper is something totally different. And I'm sure some of these projects will be ahead of schedule. Some of them will be behind schedule. And yeah, it's going to be a case-by-case thing.
And Z, if you don't mind me just jumping in really quick, how is it for you kind of being one of the people at the forefront of sourcing these different builders applications? And for people in the audience who are looking to potentially, put an application in the future, even if it's not this, quarter, maybe next quarter, what are some things that the Axie team looks for in very good, robust builder applications?
Yeah, I mean, currently, definitely, as we go through, it's a lot about the team and their skills, and how feasible their project seems, how much progress they've made. Those are all some of the big factors, and then really alignment to what Axie Infinity is about. Is this about really helping the community and helping the ecosystem? And I would say those are some of the top factors we look for. Yeah. A single person comes in and says they want to build an MMORPG, they're much less likely to be accepted, as obviously those are massive undertakings.
Yeah, great question, Bryce. Thank you very much. All right, let's keep moving right along here. Some great questions so far. Mr. JD Hyper, what can we do for you, sir?
Hey, Andrew. Hey, Philip. Thanks for inviting me up here, and thanks for sharing all this awesome information about Origins. I had a question. I'll just be pretty straightforward. Right before this, Spaces tweeted out something about having credit card integration with the Rona network, especially with this being deployed on app stores, getting out to the masses, and moon shards being particularly off chain and being one of the first ways to craft some of these rune and charms. If we'll see something like that, or can look forward to that as just a next development as this gets deployed out to everybody.
Sorry, I didn't actually catch the question part of that. What's can you repeat? Sorry.
Yeah. It's basically just if we can expect credit card integration to like maybe purchasing moon shards or axies or something along those lines as this gets deployed out to app stores into the masses.
I'm not personally involved in that, and haven't don't know much. So maybe Jeff.
I have some insight into this. Yeah, we're definitely looking into tightening up our credit card onboarding, right? So right now, obviously, everyone knows that we have REMP, which allows you to buy ETH, Axis, or SLP, but it's geo gated, right? You can't use it everywhere, and it would just be simpler if you could, right, put in your credit card and buy an NFT from the marketplace. That's something that we're looking at. It is a little bit complex because there are things like chargebacks and that you have to take into account. So it is a little bit harder of a lift, but the marketplace team is looking at it, and if it's possible, we'll do it. But yeah, can't make any promises on the timeline, but we're definitely looking into it pretty heavily.
Awesome, thank you.
Awesome, another great question. Okay, so Bitcoin Pendium. Hello, long time no see. I think that's somebody I met at the Portugal meetup, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, exactly, Andrew. Hey guys, how are you doing? David from Spain here. So I'm really glad to be able to speak in this space, and first of all, I have to thank you all for building all of this to letting other people be part of this amazing community. A special thanks to Josh for his insights and data, because I devour his tweets because they are awesome, and he's like the spy on the testnet of Axie Infinity, so he's awesome. And yeah, my question is about the builders program, because I'm curious about how I mean, what was the genre that most people made a proposal for? Did you get a lot of, for example, platforms proposals, or they were or MMORPG, or that is one question, and the other one is how. Now, what was the genre that just got, like, I didn't expect that someone was gonna make an Axie game of this genre.
Sorry, what was the second question?
So, what was the genre that you didn't expect someone was going to make a game with Axies, that genre? Like, for example, I don't know, like,
got it.
Yeah.
Got it. I didn't do a count of all the of the genres to give a perfect breakdown. I definitely saw, a lot of people interested in platformers. I think some of a bunch of different hyper casual ones. There were a lot of people interested in MOBAs, but MOBAs are a bit harder to make, so it's definitely a consideration. And then fighting games. What else was there? And then there was a mixed bag of just tons of different unique ideas. Like, some of these I don't even know if they would have a genre, but there were ones that were kind of like board games almost, like
awesome.
Pushing through dungeons, and so there was a huge variety, I would say.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Hey, I have a quick announcement. We have Lima, our LATAM lead, on stage right now. So what does that mean? That means that if you have a question, but your first language is Spanish, don't be shy. You can come up and ask your question in Spanish, and Lima, the amazing Lima, will translate it for us. So, yeah, please feel free to ask your questions en español. Gracias.
All
Muchas
right. Well, with that
gracias.
said, let's kick it over to Lover. Sorry, Lima, I should have given you a chance to introduce yourself. But yeah, let's kick it over to Lover, and then we'll bring up Extra here, Extra Rye, and see what's going on there. Lover, would love to hear from you, mate, in Spanish or English, whatever you prefer.
Well, if I be honest, always going to be better for me to talk in Spanish. But this time, I would like to make my own question. Hi, everybody. By the way, thank you, Lima, for helping us with the Spanish community to try to speak here. My question is really simple, if I be honest. I'm curious because I'm waiting to see if it could be possible. Are we going to get a different kind of Axie in origin, like a dragon type or like a viper or something different that the actual Axie that we got? Or are we going to get the new card for the mech, the dusk, and the down? That's just the question that I have at this moment, at this point.
No dragon class axies yet. So
So
no, it'll just be the classes we have. In terms of cards, we definitely are looking to introduce new body parts over time. Don't have any particular details to share on that right now, but yeah, definitely body parts for mech and dawn and dusk are things we are looking into and considering.
Thank you, Philip, for that. Thank you, everybody, for bringing me up. I was excited, I'm an Axie fan, and I was talking about that yesterday. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thanks for the question.
Yeah, I appreciate you, Lover, all the work you've been doing in the LATAM and Spanish-speaking community as well. Really appreciate you. Lima, you got your hand up. Would love to hear from you as well.
Thank you so much, Zyori. It's a beautiful pleasure to be here today among my heroes, which is the community, the developers. And I want to say something in Spanish, if you allow me. Muchas gracias a todas las personas maravillosas que están conectadas. Es verdaderamente un placer estar conectado en este espacio tan importante. El día de hoy he tenido la oportunidad maravillosa de ser también speaker dentro de este espacio tan bonito para traducir todas sus preguntas. Así que si alguien de pronto tiene una pregunta que realizar, por favor, hagan clic en request y yo voy a traducir todo para que pueda el equipo de Sky Mavis y Axie Infinity escuchar todos sus comentarios, ideas, críticas constructivas y opiniones, porque Latinoamérica y España y todas las personas del mundo habla hispana son muy importantes para nosotros. Muchísimas gracias. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Lima. Of course, with so many people here, we'll do the best that we can. Only so many spaces to be able to speak, and unfortunately, we won't be able to hear from everyone, but we're going to do the best that we can. All right, Extra Rye, what's going on? We'd love to hear from you.
Hi guys. Good morning. It's 4:55 a.m. here in the Philippines, and thank you so much for the opportunity for letting me speak. First and foremost, Philip, Lima, congratulations and welcome to the Axie team. Also, Nixie Go, and I'm not sure if he's here, but congratulations as well. I actually discussed the origin updates with my community a couple of days ago, and they have a couple of questions. So I hope you guys don't mind if I ask a couple of questions.
Please go for it. We would love to hear some questions from the Filipino community.
Cool. So I think this one has been answered, but will there be Dawn, Mech, and Dusk cards?
Yeah, I think we want to have them in the future. I think I believe some of the starter axies might. That would be the soonest, but not initially as part of how we introduce those will be something we need to figure out too, whether that be through a breeding event or through some sort of system. Yeah, new body parts is significant content releases for us.
Yes, exactly. So with that, I was actually supposed to ask how will they be introduced to the game, but okay. So how about bird, plant, aqua, the usual Axie types? Will they be having new parts as well? moving forward?
There aren't for the initial launch. No, they will have kind of all the existing parts. So everything you have right now will be what the parts are in Origin V3. But yeah, definitely over time, I think all axies will get more parts over time. And I've mentioned this a bit in my upgrading thread too. Is that in the future we might introduce different modes where you can only use different parts. There might be kind of the primary ranked mode where we actually deprecate parts over time and introduce new ones, and there's other modes where you can use all parts, but those are further down the line. But yeah, definitely introducing new parts over time is going to be something we do for all classes.
Okay, so thank you. You guys also mentioned that the adventure mode will have a storyline, right? So
yes.
Will this be a one big story, or is it going to be part by part?
Not sure what you mean by like there'll be chapters that are connected. So yeah, I guess we will. I believe we're releasing a few chapters to start, and then yeah, basically we can expand on that over time and actually release more chapters.
So is there going to be like expansions to the story that might affect the cards that the Axis will have? Like, for example, other card games have expansions, so they will introduce new cards based on that new storyline that the adventure will have.
Yeah, there could be. I mean, I think we haven't nailed down anything, but I think that would be cool, where you have this event in the game. You have this new chapter with this storyline and some new parts that are introduced into the game that actually connect to that narrative.
That's cool.
I think would be really cool. Yeah, so it's a great idea.
Okay. Another one is, will there be an arena type that doesn't have the runes or charms applied, or will there be a non-ranked mode?
No. So yeah, arena will be charms and runes will be available in all the different modes, and there will be a practice mode, that people can try out different things, but yeah, within the arenas and all of that, charms and runes will be available across all of them.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. I think that's all the questions that I have. Sorry if I'm taking a lot of airtime.
No, thank you.
All great
Thank you
questions.
so much for the opportunity to let me speak. And on behalf of the Filipino community, magandang umaga and have a great day. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for staying up late and bringing some of those questions for us. Really appreciate it. Hard to hit every time zone. So yeah, you're doing great work over there. Thank you so much. Freak, what's going on with you, buddy? How are things in Freak's world?
Hey guys, thanks for having me on. I got two quick questions. First, will there be in-app purchases in the game? And if not immediately, like what kind of criteria do you think you guys would need to have before you bring that kind of stuff in? And then second, could you talk about the progression system within Origin? For example, like are you going to have rewards for climbing the ladder, or how will the progression system kind of look? Thanks.
Yeah, so IPs won't be available with the initial launches. It's definitely something, we want to add in. It's a pretty sensitive, feature, and especially in with blockchains and tokens and all of that as part of our game, it makes things a lot more complicated to figure out what would be the right structure. I used to work on Pokemon Go on free to play, and it's much more straightforward. You just use the app stores, put up your SKUs and get it going. But with us, it's a lot more complicated because you can get axies on the marketplace right now, and there's tokens involved. So it'll take a bit more time for us to get the IAP system in, but it is something that is, I would say, relatively high priority for me, that I would love to get in sooner than later, but it'll probably still take a little bit. The other question around progression, it'll be similar to how it is now with the MMR. So you kind of progress through the ranks and get to the leaderboard where we'll have leaderboards introduced. yeah, within PvE, you'll progress through the story. So that's kind of the main thing there. In the future, would love to add more game modes. And people have thrown out a lot of ideas already. But things like daily runs. Through see how many PvE levels you can beat a day, and kind of roguelike experiences, all that stuff. Things we want to consider for the future as well, for more different types of progression.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Freak. Appreciate the thoughtful questions. Let's go back to some Spanish speakers. Gocho, I want to hear from you, and then we're going to jump over to Winston after that. Appreciate your patience, Winston. Gocho, how are you, buddy?
Hola, Kue. How are you? Fine, and you? And I am happy, but I need to speak in Spanish and Lima translate. Lima, pues lo único que quiero decir que estoy bastante contento y bastante emocionado y con mucha expectativa con todo lo que viene con Origin. Solo agradecer en esta parte particularmente a Queen, que de verdad sé que está haciendo el mayor esfuerzo positivo para que los creadores de contenido, desde el más chiquito al más grande, que son los que día a día impulsan también nuestro ecosistema visualmente y hacer que lleguemos a más personas. Me alegra saber que ya todo esto está en proceso, y sí me gustaría saber algunas buenas nuevas de todo lo que viene para ellos, ¿no? No me considero creador de contenido, lo hago por hobby, pero sí sé que muchos lo están haciendo con todo el corazón y con las mayores ganas. Quisiera saber fechas estimadas o de qué manera va a empezar a desarrollarse este gran proyecto de creadores de contenido.
Thank you very much. Muchas gracias, Gocho. Voy a realizar la traducción. The translation for what Gocho said right now is that he says, hello, what I would like to say is that I am extremely happy and emotional for this beautiful moment in the community. Origins is coming, and it's extremely exciting. Thank you so much to Queen, the marketing director of Axie Infinity, for making a lot of effort happen into this beautiful launching that's coming. And Gocho says that many content creators, from little content creators to big content creators, are extremely important for the environment and the community. And he says that day after day, they impulse the ecosystem and reach more people. And he's glad that the content creators are going to be part of the future of Axie Infinity. And he would like to know if there are more news about content creator program, because he does content creation as a hobby, but he knows that a lot of people do it professionally. He would like to know if there are dates, estimates in which this content creator program will be developed. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not personally as involved in that side of things, but I know the team is working really hard on spinning that up. Jeff might have more insight into it.
Yeah, sure. So this is something that Quinn and I, as well as Andrew, spend a lot of time thinking about. We've been talking to a lot of creators, and we've also talked to people that have led content creator programs at some of the largest kind of traditional games that have done really well. So yeah, we are working on rolling out a minimum viable content creator program. It's likely that there will be some sort of a marketplace referral code involved with it. And we also want to see it as, right, like, we need to be training and educating our creators about Axie, about blockchain, about content creation. So that's one of the big goals of the program. So yeah, like, we're definitely making a lot of progress on this internally. We have a goal to release a first version of the creator program along with the Origin soft launch. So right around there, we are looking to do that, but no promises. But yeah, there's been a lot of thought into something like this internally. And thanks for the question.
Thank you so much, Gijos. I'm going to be translating for Gocho. Gocho, lo que acaba de decir Gijos y Philip dijo que no está involucrado al 100%, pero sabe que el equipo tiene esto como una de las prioridades más fuertes. Y también lo que dijo Gijos es que es algo en lo cual han estado trabajando arduamente, han estado en contacto con muchos creadores de contenido y personas y empresas y entidades del gaming que han creado programas de contenido creadores de contenido en otras plataformas grandes. En estos momentos se está trabajando en lo que sería el código de referidos del marketplace, lo cual personalmente me parece bastante emocionante. Y también él dice que el enfoque que se le va a dar a Axie Infinity en lo que es el programa de creadores de contenido es la educación acerca de blockchain y también clases de cómo crear contenido de la mejor forma posible en el Web 3.0, que están haciendo mucho progreso al respecto y que la fecha de lanzamiento estaría bastante relacionada con la fecha de lanzamiento de Origin. Muchas gracias. Thank you so much.
Gracias, Lima, y gracias a ustedes por su respuesta.
Amazing. Yeah, great question. Thank you so much. All right, Winston, let's hear from you, buddy. How's that CyberCon doing? How are you?
I'm doing great. And first, thank you on behalf of the entire community. I know the team likes to release things in huge chunks when they have polished, finished releases that they can get out. And I know it's been tough the past little while waiting for something and then having so much come out all at once has just been so amazing. We love the transparency. I think Philip is an amazing addition to the Axie ecosystem. And I'm loving how much initiative he's having out there to be the one to release a lot of this information because it really cements his place. So I have a two-parter. I think you touched on this a little bit. It seems as though there's a bit of a differentiation between the game app and the wallets. And so as somebody who has scholars, it seems as though the scholars are able to use moon shards in the app for runes and charms. And then as well, there's some class specific and then also class agnostic ones. Some will be blockchain focused, some will be off chain. I'm wondering how ownership is going to work for those charms, because I'm sure some of them will be desirable. You'll maybe want to have multiple charms on a specific account, and moving those around will the person who owns the app. So if the scholar has earned these charms and spent their SLP on it, I'm guessing the person managing that account won't have access to that. I'm not sure if that's a change or if maybe I just read it wrong. And then the second half is that Axies are a big investment. I know a lot of guilds and just individual people want their Axies to be usable season after season and enjoyable. And I'm curious if in this new game mode, the runes and charms will really be focused on giving Axies as much fun usability for playing as long as possible versus the current one, where as quickly as metas change, people are quick to maybe jump off the boat of their current Axies and switch over. So those are the two. One's on the charms and runes side of things and how the ownership is covered, and then the other is on the longevity of your Axies. So looking forward to hearing it, and thanks for having me up.
Got it. Yeah, thanks for all the thoughts, and yeah, appreciate the love. Yeah, so on the first part around ownership, yeah, so although you know, these charms and runes can be crafted within the game, the idea is that they can't be minted unless the wallet owner mints them actually into NFTs, at least the blockchain eligible ones, and then ultimately the wallet owner has control over all these assets if they can be traded or sold. But just within the crafting itself, within the game, can be done by whoever's playing. So that's kind of how that ownership piece will work. So yeah, if you are the wallet owner, ultimately you have control over all the different assets that might come out of the game. On the second part, around just I believe utility and playability of different Axies, yeah, I think definitely charms and runes will create a new layer of strategy and utility that there might be an Axie that changes in the meta with rebalancing of cards, but yeah, charms and runes might actually still make them very viable and useful, and so definitely adds that layer that allows us to balance further and try to make sure that all different types of combinations have their utility and use across seasons.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
No problem. Great questions.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Winston. Really appreciate you. Hope it's going well for you, buddy. Probably about 15 minutes left here in this Twitter space, so we'll get a few more questions going. Elathia, CPA, you've had your hand up for a while. Would love to hear from you. What's going on?
Bueno, primero que nada, perdón por hablar en español. Infinitas gracias, Lima, por hacernos de traductor. Quiero primero soñar con cambiar el mundo, que creo que ya estamos todos en las nubes gracias a eso. Y luego era una pregunta muy técnica, quizás. Sé que funcionaba en Linux y nuevamente más que nada por tema de que yo uso mucho Linux y creo que mucha gente de las criptos por temas de seguridad, porque suele tener menos problemas que Windows y bueno, era si en algún momento tenían planeado implementarlo nuevamente. Gracias, Lima, de verdad.
Bastante contento de escucharte, Alethea. Thank you so much, Alethea. I'm going to be translating. Alethea just asked but first of all, she wanted to communicate that Axie is changing the world. She's from Spain and that she's extremely happy to be part of the community. And she's asking if there are some projects or ideas or developments that are going to be launched on Linux regarding Axie Infinity.
Sorry, on what?
The software Linux.
Linux,
Oh, Linux.
Yeah, sorry about that.
It's all good. I am not aware of any plans towards that particular platform. But yeah, definitely something we can consider as we go, but not that I'm aware of currently.
So we actually used to release Linux builds for the current battle system, but they were just not used, and basically lack of demand basically caused us to stop releasing them. The more builds that you have to create, right, it just creates a little bit more upkeep. But now that our team is larger, our engineering team, it's possible that we can consider it, especially if we get a lot of requests. So.
Thank you so much. I'm going to be translating for Alethea. Alethea, lo que dijo principalmente Philip es que no hay planes particularmente, pero pueden considerarlo mientras hay un avance en el proyecto. Y Gijos dijo que efectivamente el Linux o Linux solía estar, ¿no?, dentro de los planes de Axie Infinity, inclusive había battles en Linux, pero por falta de demanda se pausó. Pero teniendo en consideración la infraestructura del futuro, ¿no?, cada vez siendo todo más grande, es muy posible reconsiderarlo si es que hay muchas personas que lo piden. Así que esa sería la respuesta. Muchas gracias, Alethea.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Lima. Thank you. Gracias, Alethea. Bien pregunta. Fernanda, let's hear from you and then we'll jump over to Reels. Let's keep the Spanish going. Fernanda, buenos días.
Buenos días, Zyori. Buenos días a todos. How are you guys? I'm really excited to be in here. And I have some questions from the community. And one is that people are really concerned that with the growth of Origin will come a new wave of scholars. So the question is, will there be a solution like a smart contract or some application for a better management of this kind of situation? And the other question is if what's going to happen with the special axes like Origin axis, Japanese Mio Corps, Origin Mystic, etc. And what about the special characters like Ginger, Puff, and Kotaro? They have a lot of fans, so they really want to know if they're gonna be they're gonna have some special place in Origin. And thank you so much for this.
Cool. Sorry, what was the first question again?
Oh, the first question was about is there's going to be a solution about the scholarships? Because of the growth of Origin, they are pretty concerned about that.
Yeah, I think there are things in the works around scholarship tooling, I believe, internally. I'm not personally involved in that part as much as well, but ultimately, at least on the game side, for me, the most important thing is creating a very solid and fun game first, and then I think scholarship side there are tools in the works though that we want to help people manage all of that easier. in terms of the different starter axes, yeah, I mean they'll all have their own personalities, their own kind of move sets and unique quirks around them, and their own lore. So yeah, people will definitely get a lot of more color, and get more attached to some of these starter axes. And was that it? Was there something else I missed?
She was asking about the collectibles, like the Mio,
Yeah.
Japanese origins.
Yeah. For collectibles, I kind of mentioned earlier with an origin, there's nothing major that will be different other than obviously their body parts. But that's something, I'm personally thinking about. I've talked about it a bit with the community too, on Twitter around, collection systems and badges, to really at least let people highlight and show off, what they have in ways that can be communicated, and that might come with benefits or whatnot in the future. But a way for people to really reach these achievements that involve collection of different types of axies.
I love that. Thank you so much, Fernanda, and thanks for that great answer, Phil. I had a sort of a meme in my head as you were answering that, but Phil, will my Frosty have extra traits when on Arctic land? I get that question so much because it just seems too perfect from a lore perspective.
Yeah, land is a whole different can of worms that I still need to get wrap my head around internally as well. So yeah, hopefully I know definitely there's a lot of interest to learn more about land. It's definitely something I feel and want to get more out. But first, Origins kind of the number one priority for now, for me, and then getting more information on land, aligning on it, and then getting it out to everyone is also very important for me.
Fantastic. Yeah, one step at a time. Reels, what's going on? Love to hear from you. Thanks for your patience.
Hey, thanks for bringing me up. First of all, welcome, Philip and Lima. Very excited to have you on the Axie team. And what I wanted to talk about is, as far as I can understand, the Origin launch will not include body part upgrades. But I would be very interested to know when that's coming, if it's coming, because it's something I've been looking forward to a long time. And how will those two systems work together? Like, will there be charms and runes that have different effects for different levels of the same body part, or will they be completely independent?
So all of that still needs to get figured out. In terms of body part upgrading, it's very early stages. Probably won't come until at earliest later this year. And in terms of how they would work, also to be figured out. I think off the top of my head, I would say that charms and runes should still work as they do now in terms of the effects they give. Except it'll just be on top of the upgraded body part, and the upgraded body parts will have their own unique effects and how those interact. I think our game designers will definitely have some challenges and fun with that, of how we make sure to balance upgrades, upgraded parts versus power ups, which are charms and runes. But yeah, they'll work in tandem.
Awesome. Very exciting. Thank you.
No problem. Great question.
All right. Yeah, winding down a little bit. We'll probably take a few more questions here in this final 10 minutes, but this has been another really great space. Appreciate everyone for tuning in and asking these great questions. Shedra, a new face. What can we do for you?
Hello, Zyori. Nice to meet everyone. I might be new today, but I'm in the community for a while already. Thank you, everybody, for this space, and welcome, Philip, to the wild jungle. I have a few questions for Philip. The first one, I would like to know how can we see the ladder working and origins. Like I could say on the last league there was like a bear level 3 or something like that when the victory happened. If you could speak better how the ladder is going to work or how the matchmaking is meant to work in the new version, and also if you could talk about more about the badges idea. What the concept and when you are looking to adding those badges. And the third and last question is, we will have achievements in the game. For example, if I have used 10 sandal cards in a day, or if I acquired, I don't know, 100 victories in a month or something like that.
Got it. Yeah, so in terms of the kind of leaderboard system, I actually will probably get back to you on that. I haven't dug into that particular part as deeply as I probably should, but as far as I understand so far, it'll still be a ladder system, but yeah, it'll be a bit more fun where you have different animals that represent different levels that players can reach, and then the matchmaking will obviously be based on kind of the different levels that players reach. And then on badge system, also very early stage, I need to work with Jeff on our marketplace team to figure out where that fits in. Obviously, there's a bunch of things we need to do before that, including getting Origin out, getting all the changes into the marketplace and the client for Origin, and then also IP systems, as mentioned earlier. And then we have to prioritize against things like Axie accessories or upgrading versus badges as well. So all of that we need to figure out together. If people strongly feel that certain one should come before another, definitely voice it on to me on Twitter or wherever else you can find me. But those will all come kind of later this year, hopefully. In terms of achievements, I think that'd be cool. I would love to be able to integrate that into our work for badges as well, if we can. If there's some way to have achievements that you can get daily, or maybe it's part of the quest system that we can, have different ways. Right now the quest is, just complete battles, but there could be quests that are, use a certain number of cards a day and get a reward or whatnot. So that'd be really cool too. I think coming from Pokemon Go as well, we had a kind of quest system where it encouraged players to play in different ways and do a lot of different tasks. And it'd be cool to have something similar to that with Axie as well.
Cool. I have one last question. Sorry. We will ever see a different composition of Axie battles, like 2v2, 5v5, or team versus team inside Origins. I would imagine that we're gonna see something like that on land, but perhaps we could see some kind of team gameplay in Origins as well, or no?
Yeah, I mean, as in general, I'm a big fan of cooperative and types of gameplay and social gameplay. So whether that be team battles or guilds or whatever it is, I think it would be really cool. Definitely much further down the line. But yeah, I would love that personally.
Yeah, and I've actually been getting more and more questions about Axie team play recently from the esports side. There's a lot of folks out there that I guess seem to have this thesis that team games are more successful in esports, and hence Axie should try to move into being a team game, and that'll bring in more traditional esports organizations that can help with marketing and just expand our whole cycle. And I think there's some truth to that, but I also think that there's a lot of merit to exciting 1v1 games, and there's ways that we can build the team element into 1v1s, like where you have 3 people on each team and you play against each other until each side is out of players and stuff like that. We're totally open to experiment with some team formats. And I think we've even got a couple events on this esports grant that have also, they're working on building out some kind of team-based, sort of guild versus guild type formats. So something we're very much experimenting with.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Great questions. All right. The Kev, this might be our closer here. We'll see if this is a long one, but the Kev, welcome up to the podium. What can we do for you?
Hello, can you listen to me?
Yep, you sound great.
Okay. I'm going to do the question in Spanish because I think we have also to talk in our language. So, mi pregunta para un poco en general, ¿no? Para Philip y también para Zyori y demás, sería cómo ven ellos a futuro, la perspectiva de futuro en lo que serían los guilds pequeños, ¿no? No estamos hablando de guilds de 100, 200, 300 jugadores, sino de a lo mejor 20 jugadores y demás. Más que nada a la hora del cambio a Origin, que es súper motivante, por ejemplo, para el juego competitivo o gente que jugamos a nivel competitivo en el leaderboard y demás. Pero quizás para la adaptación de scholars y la devaluación de los axies y demás es un poco difícil adaptar a lo mejor esa inversión para poder mantener las becas o que los becados puedan continuar jugando, ¿no? Aparte de la pregunta, dar las gracias por darme la oportunidad de preguntar y también agradecer pues, la oportunidad de poder jugar a este juego y compartir tantos momentos con la comunidad de Axie.
Thank you so much. Muchas gracias, Kev, por la pregunta. I'm going to translate. What Kev just asked is he's concerned about little guilds because when the process is being made into Origin, he wonders what is going to happen in a world of very competitive, like gaming for little scholars regarding changes. And that he also wants to add that he's extremely grateful to be playing this beautiful game and being part of the community.
Yeah, I think if I understand the question correctly around, just I guess difficulty and how competitive it'll get. Yeah, I mean, I think across the leaderboard there'll be different levels of competitiveness, and if certain players are, working with different axies or not spending as much time studying the meta and figuring out different combos, then yeah, I think you may be less successful. But I think if you are really learning the game and competing and figuring out what works and what doesn't over time, then yeah, I think everyone should be able to have success in the game and compete with all the different types of combos that are going to emerge.
Thank you very much, Philip. I'm going to be translating. Kev, lo que acaba de decir Philip es que entiende tu pregunta acerca de las dificultades que van a obtener las pequeñas guilds en el mundo competitivo y te da la respuesta de que definitivamente habrán distintos niveles de competencia en el leaderboard con distintas posibilidades de axis sin tener que darle necesariamente el énfasis al meta para con distintas guilds y que en Axie Infinity en el futuro también va a poder haber muchísimas posibilidades de éxito sin depender de seguir el meta consecuentemente, ¿no? Así que habla acerca de una posibilidad de amplia cantidad de combos, amplia cantidad de body parts, las cuales en general van a dar muchas oportunidades dentro de distintos niveles competitivos de esports.
Ok, muchísimas gracias por traducirlo y nada, un placer también cerrar lo que es el espacio y muy buena información hoy que hemos tenido sobre Axie Infinity y sobre el futuro de Origin.
What Kev just said is that he's extremely happy to be closing the space and that he's extremely happy to have been able to speak to and that he's very thankful to everybody. Thank you.
Amazing. And we're thankful to have you here, Kev. Thank you so much for stepping up. So I did lie a little bit. We're going to have two more because we had someone else just join us here, and I want to hear from this Spanish speaker. We've got to hear from Azarian. I met this man in Portugal. You're a great player, great content creator. Lima, we got some more work for you. Azarian, what's going on, brother?
Hello everyone. Thank you very much for letting me speak here. I'm gonna do my question in Spanish, so it's better for me. I'm kinda nervous. It's the first time I use the Twitter Space. Bueno, mi pregunta es un poco similar a la que acaba de responder ahora mismo, bueno, a la que acaba de hacer ahora mismo de Kev, que era un poco saber cómo podemos hacer o qué es lo que va a pasar al transicionar a las Origins con respecto a los Scholars. Si vamos a tener que, me imagino que tendremos que cambiar a lo mejor los equipos de los Scholars. Cuando eres un jugador competitivo ya tienes, ¿cómo decirlo? ya sabes que vas a tener que adaptarte un poco al meta, pero cuando tienes a lo mejor 100 scholars o más de 100 scholars, tener que adaptar 100 cuentas es mucho más difícil. Pero bueno, creo que más o menos respondieron ya a la pregunta que acaba de hacer de Kev. Responde un poco a mi pregunta también.
Thank you so much. I'm going to be translating. Azarian, muchísimas gracias, hermano. Y desde mi punto de vista personal, gracias por todo lo que haces por la comunidad. The question that he asked is that his question was very similar to the previous question, and he would like to know how is going to be the transition for guilds, because he knows that competitive players, they have this ability to adapt when they have only to figure out the future for their teams. But regarding hundreds of teams, what could you say about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think switching over to a brand new game for anyone, I think is definitely not a simple transition. But yeah, I think it may take some time for everyone to ramp up, but hopefully as guilds, can help each other and learn together and figure out. I think even for people not in guilds, they're gonna have to figure out the new metas and all the new battle systems. So I think at scale, I think the individuals will definitely, need to put an effort to learn what works and what doesn't, and figure out the strategies that will work and share that together. And I think guilds do have that advantage where they have a lot of different people that can play and learn different things to share with each other to figure out what works faster.
It's going to be, right, like our approach is to try to make things that are easy to learn, but have incredible depth and are difficult to master, right? Making the game something where you can improve in terms of your skill and you're constantly learning. That's actually what, right, like motivates many people to play games. So it's really important that we have that process. Also, right, that mastery is what allows our content creators, right, our educators within the ecosystem to make really important content to help kind of unveil new strategies and tips and tricks and things like that. So yeah, I think the Axie community has so many great educators, leaders, content creators that Origin is really, it's going to be a huge challenge for everybody, but as a community, we will be up to the task.
Thank you so much. I'm going to be translating for Azarian. Azarian, lo que acaba de decir el hermano Philip es que cambiar a un nuevo juego definitivamente no es una transición simple, puede tomar un tiempo en adaptarse, pero él considera que el aprendizaje en conjunto de parte de todas las guilds es bastante importante, ¿no? En escala, poner el esfuerzo de aprender qué cosa funciona y qué cosa no y ver las estrategias juntos es algo indispensable tanto para las personas que pertenecen a una guild como las personas que juegan individualmente. Él considera que el trabajo en equipo va a ser fundamental para esto. Y Gijos, lo que dice Gijos es que en nuestro enfoque es hacer cosas que son fáciles de entender, pero con dificultad en la profundización. Hay aprendizaje constante y educación y que es importante mantener ese proceso. También habla acerca de que esa maestría, ese mastery, hace posible que los creadores de contenido y los educadores también puedan desarrollarse al máximo hablando de trucos, estrategias, información, y que la comunidad Axie tiene excelentes líderes, excelentes creadores de contenido, excelentes educadores, y que va a ser un reto definitivamente, pero todos en conjunto como comunidad lo lograremos. Muchas gracias.
Yeah, and I think one other thing I'll add is that's why we have this kind of test phase as well, where the SLP earning and those components won't be moving over to Origin with the test launch, and there will be this period where people can learn Origin and learn the gameplay before the kind of economy is moved over to that new system.
Thank you very much, Philip. I'm going to add that in Spanish. Azarian también dice Philip, en adición, de que por esto mismo es que habrá un proceso de alfa, en el cual todavía los componentes económicos dentro del juego, los tokenomics, como el SLP, todavía no se van a traducir inmediatamente, sino habrá un periodo de prueba en el cual nos podrá ayudar a todos a aprender acerca de esta transición. Muchas gracias. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Lima, and thank you, Phil, for that clarification. A great question, Azarian, and something we're definitely going to be thinking about. Folks, this space has been fantastic, and we are going to take one final question, and this time I am for real. Randcorp, you asked a great hard-hitting question in the last space, and we're expecting more from you here. Welcome back, my friend. How are you?
Love it. Thank you, Zyori. Thank you guys for having me on stage again. It's an honor to be here with you guys again. Jiho, Lima, Zyori, Philip, and everybody in the community that's been up here speaking. There's been a lot of great information shared in the space. And Philip, it's great to have you on board. Hearing your ideas on Twitter has been very refreshing. And I think we've seen like a really huge sentiment turnaround, and it's been amazing to kind of look at all the communication that's been happening coming from the team. My question is for the Builders program. Is Sky Mavis team strictly looking for game builders? Or can we give examples of like what else the team might be looking for, like DeFi applications, educational tools, or anything else like that that might like jog or spur some inspiration from the community to build?
Thanks. Thanks for welcoming, and definitely have enjoyed the dialogue so far with the community. For the Builders program, we are primarily looking for kind of new experiences for the community right now as part of that program, but it's not stopping anyone from definitely building the tools and other things that can help the community as well as they have in the past. But that is kind of the focus area, and I imagine things will expand in the future to other areas. But this is all kind of experimental and new for us. So we're kind of starting with just a particular focus area, so that we can just learn how this can work.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thanks for the question.
Fantastic. All right. Well, I think it's time for some closing thoughts. Phil, we'll give it to you first, and we'll certainly let Jeff have a moment to speak. Anything you'd like to say to close this out? Anything we missed? Any other hype stuff for Origin? If you got any other leaks for us, bro, this is the time.
No other leaks in particular. I think we've probably put out a lot more out there just in the past hour and a half. But no, just thank you to everyone in the community for welcoming me in, and we'll be working hard to continue to have these dialogues and get people's feedback, and push things out. Like obviously, everyone wants timelines, and I understand that. We would all love to know exactly when we can ship everything too. Unfortunately, things are a lot more complex than that, and so. Appreciate the community understanding that, and we will always continue to push to get things out. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you. It's I think I can speak for the whole team. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on board so far. Your work has been incredible, and we're all really excited to see what else you can bring to the table here in the Axie universe. We need more big brains like Phil. So thank you so much for your interest in being here, man. We need more builders like yourself. Jiho, the ultimate builder. I'll let you close it out. What do we got going on?
Thanks for hosting, man. I'm just so happy that we're able to share more and more about the game development process. It's been amazing to have Phil on the team. The Origin teaser got me so hyped, and I think that was like a clear example of how we're now sharing more with the community around the development of the game. And Phil's been the main catalyst behind that. So today is not about me. Sending love to everyone. Thanks for coming. This space has been recorded, so we will share it through our channels again. Your questions and our answers have been immortalized, not on the blockchain, but through Twitter. We'll put it on YouTube and stuff like that. So definitely tell your friends how awesome the space was, so that they come to the next one. And sending love to all of you. Let's keep building.
Yeah, really do appreciate any help spreading the word on these Twitter spaces. As Jeff mentioned, the last Twitter space we did has been uploaded to the Axie Infinity YouTube channel. This one's also been recorded and will be uploaded there as well. I learned today that Twitter spaces only last for 30 days when you save them on Twitter. So if you're making content that you really want to save forever, folks, make sure you record it elsewhere. So we're going to be sure to do that. Make sure you subscribe, youtube.com/Axie Infinity. We're going to have more and more content coming up there as well. Also wanted to tease a little bit while I have so many of you here. In less than 48 hours, we're going to have the second Axie Fireside chat. We finally put together the Axie Fireside about security. That is going to stream on Thursday morning. I think email blasts are going out, and we'll have a follow-up on Twitter for you guys to follow it. But that will be live on the Axie Infinity Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Axie Infinity. Make sure you follow that as well. This is going to be a really good fireside. If you can't catch it live, make sure you find it on YouTube to stay safe out there. All right, folks, be kind to yourselves and be kind to each other. We'll catch you on the next official Axie Infinity Twitter space. Much love and enjoy yourselves out in the metaverse.
Axie to the moon! Woo!